the way that Gypsy Traveller art is treated, because it's been very marginalised, and that's why the title is Hidden Treasures, because we're trying to give greater prominence to the place of Gypsy Traveller art in society, to engage the wider public in generating creative dialogue that will sort of establish a route that Gypsy Traveller art can follow, that will take it to its rightful place in society, because it's not being respected at present. And it seems to be the butt of elitist, elitist treatment, and it's been relegated. So we feel that it's not actually getting the respect it deserves. Just like Gypsy Travellers tend not to get the respect they deserve and become a seldom heard voice in society. So this is something that we felt needed to be addressed through the art, to show that we are a visible presence, that we're still here. People constantly approach me and say, "Where have all the Gypsy Travellers gone? Whatever happened to them?" Well, here we are, we've just been starved of attention. So that was what generated the idea, the mindset behind this event, that there's a need for Gypsy Travellers to be empowered and to educate wider society regarding the culture, because we find that we're consistently misrepresented and misportrayed by people who think they know better about our culture than we do. So this is about providing the community with a voice, and also to say that we are service providers to the wider community, that we have a definite contribution to make in society which can benefit all of society, and therefore we shouldn't be shunned as a community. So this is the message that we're trying to convey through the art, and the project today, as well as having visual arts, gives prominence to other art forms such as music. We have a Sardinian folk singer who's a celebrated figure, Elena Piras, and she'll be singing some Gypsy Traveller songs, some Gaelic songs, also known to the Gypsy Traveller community in Scotland, as well as some songs by Robert Burns, who it emerges has been using material which was grist to his mill, taken from Gypsy Travellers, during his lifetime. So finally that's been acknowledged by museum professionals such as Rona Ramsey, who's going to be giving a talk on behalf of Stirling University about the way in which Gypsy Traveller artefacts and objets d'art are often hidden away and tucked away in archives, rather than put out on display for the public to view and to understand and appreciate. So other than that, we've got a series of workshops, people doing crafts, giving demonstrations. There'll be ladies filming. There'll be basket making, wooden flower making, paper flower making. Also Rosanna, my sister, is going to give a little tour of the day's exhibition in Gaelic. And there's a lucky draw being put on by Christine from New Zealand, who's of Gypsy Traveller extraction and has made the long journey from New Zealand. So anyone can take part in that free draw and try to win a prize. There should be a bardo outside the theatre with someone doing a bit of dookering or fortune telling, and there's going to be contemporary art in the foyer from Daniel Baker in the form of a mirror panel bender tent that reflects the hidden connections of his family with gypsies in England who used to camp on Greenham Common. So it all ties in fairly nicely, and we hope that people find it to be both educational and pleasurable, and derive some benefit from the day's proceedings. This is a painting called The Cage Fight, which shows the ribs of a bender tent and a gypsy traveller who's just slugged a ruble of EP. He's had his bottle of red wine, so he's making a swipe at a passing hare who's thrown a punch back. It was my interpretation of how members of the public view gypsy travellers. Now, they tend to think that we're all engaged in bare knuckle boxing and cage fighting, and that's all we're fit for. So I wanted to use the frame of the traditional galley, which someone had put down in the woods here as an art installation, and I used that as my inspiration for this painting. But the figure in the painting is based on a granduncle who was lame. He'd suffered from polio as a child, and he had a crutch, and he used to like his bottle of red wine because there was very little else that he could enjoy in life as one of his guilty pleasures. He used to like just to lie out in the galley and sup red wine. And he was one of the group of family members referred to locally as the Rat Pack, which brings me on to my next painting. This painting is a recent work as well, again commissioned by Creative Scotland. It's called The Rat Pack, and brings to mind a conversation I had with a local in the community who told me that he had often joked with his peers that my blood relatives were what they had known as, what they referred to as the Rat Pack, because they used to like a good time and they were given to hedonistic tendencies apparently. So this depicts them lying after a heavy drinking session, having down several rubles a peeve and gonies a peeve, which are like bottles of alcohol and bags of alcohol. So they're lying in recovery mode around the oak tree, and they've got the billy can going on the fire, so that, the drinks obviously run out at this stage and they want to sober up. And this is how the community views gypsy travellers. They won't provide them with meaningful employment, they won't give them any decent life opportunities, and then they sit back in judgment, which I think it's a bit unfair actually, because in many ways the Rat Pack were in that position due to the treatment they received over a long period of time in society. So, it would be easy to be very judgmental and harsh and critical, but in many ways society has to acknowledge the role it plays in how people turn out at the end of the day. And if they're deprived of meaningful life chances and opportunities, then who can blame them for enjoying a guilty pleasure when that's all they've got in their lives? There'll be a number of speakers at the event, and they're very distinguished figures such as Rona Ramsey, who is a museums professional and a research postgraduate at Stirling University. She's going to talk about the fact that artefacts related to gypsy travellers have become in many ways hidden objects, and this is something which she has experienced and encountered on her travels around Scotland. So she's now trying to generate a response to that which will afford gypsy traveller artefacts with a greater visible presence in museums, so that can be addressed and tackled. Also, Nicola Cowmeadow is going to be here from Culture in Perth and Kinross and the AK Bell Library. Nicola took part in a World War I exhibition and arts project, so she was heavily involved in collating information and doing research around the departmental committee on Tinkers, which, you know, the research is now in the archives at Blair Castle, and the 8th Duchess of Atholl, Catherine Ramsay, was a key figure on the committee, but that again has been buried in the archive and has never really seen the light of day. So Nicola's going to be talking about that and how hidden links within the community are quite traceable. You know, people think that they can't trace their relatives and you don't know whether anyone's a gypsy traveller in society, but Nicola's going to show that that's not the case, and that, you know, people can actually find out more about their cultural background, their origins, if they so wish. And David McPhee from Perth and Kinross Council, again one of the project partners, David's going to be talking about the World War I project as a legacy project, and, you know, what is hoped for in terms of the long-term aims and objectives emanating or arising from that project. You know, what we hope to see happening down the line with regard to Gypsy Travellers, because Gypsy Traveller art has been in many ways underfunded and marginalised. The artists have not been appreciated or supported to date, and this is something that Daniel Baker, who's a PhD qualified contemporary gypsy artist, has raised in conversation with me. Now, Daniel said that, you know, there is funding in place to collect pre-existing art done by Gypsy Travellers, but in many ways that it's viewed as obsolete and dated because they're not actually commissioning any new work by Gypsy artists, so it's not celebrating the culture as a live culture. And one of the aims of the event today is to engage the wider public and to allow people, you know, the platform to come forward and learn and acquire new skills, to update existing skills, maybe in basket making, flower making, to engage with Gypsy Travellers, to see that we are a visible presence in society and we do actually exist. Well, to summarise, I would say the key aims and objectives of today are education, empowerment, engagement and entertainment, because we want to firstly educate members of wider society regarding our cultural background and distinctive origins. B, we wish to empower Gypsy Traveller artists on the day, and also to bring them together so that they can exchange creative ideas and input. Then, you know, we want engagement with members of the wider community so that we can resolve some of the issues and address the needs of Gypsy Travellers, you know, given the feedback and the suggestions and input on the day that might kick-start matters for Gypsy Travellers. And ultimately we wish to entertain the visitors who, you know, we are privileged to have here today, who have invested their time in attending this event. So thank you very much on behalf of the Nakin community.